Shalom, all praises, blessings, glories, and honors to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Racha, Kodash. Double honors to my Allah apostles and bishop elders of Great Millstone who have taught me this truth, as well as men of like mind. Shalom wa chasad, which means peace and mercy, to the elect of the nation of Israel, whom we so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and Israelite foreigners of the seed line of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom are scattered here in America, which is Babylon the Great, and abroad. To you I say Shalom, and Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Ratazah. This lesson is edifying and informative. Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 5. Yea also, because he transgresseth by wine. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. In the news from the BBC, Fitch downgrades U.S. credit rating from AAA to AA+. The U.S. government's credit rating has been downgraded following concerns over the state of the country's finances and its debt burden. And America's debt burden is that thick clay, that ibatyat, which is the Hebrew word for thick clay. Ibatyat means heavy debts or heavy weights, which is America's debt. Fitch, one of the three major independent agencies that assess credit worthiness, cut the rating from the top level of AAA to a notch level at AA+. Now, what is AAA and what is AA? This is from the CNN concerning the self-same article. Now, what is AAA, triple B, and triple C's? Again, this is from the CNN. For only the second time in U.S. history, a credit rating firm downgraded its assessment of American long-term debt from a pristine AAA to AA+, one notch below. What's with the alphabet soup, for those that don't know, of course? In short, the letters assigned by credit rating firms are just shorthand to signal to investors how safe or risky they view a certain debt instrument to be. In this case, the debt is United States long-term sovereign bonds. Each of the big three credit rating operations, S&P, Moody's, and Fitch, uses a slightly different scale, but all of them start with AAA at the top. AAA is the safest bet. They tell investors around the world that the issuer of the debt, i.e. the United States government, is practically guaranteed to make interest payments on time and not default. Up until 2011, the United States had a perfect rating from all three firms. S&P was the first to downgrade it over a debt ceiling standoff. Fitch became the second on Tuesday when it cited DC dysfunction, and yet another debt ceiling debacle just weeks earlier. Even though the US didn't default in either case, the mere specter or speculation of default was enough to make investors nervous. The difference between AAA and AA plus is minimal. Under Fitch's system, AAA is defined as the lowest expectation of default risk, while AA plus signals expectations of a very low level of default risk. And this level will only continue to be downgraded over the process of time because, according to biblical prophecy, this man's kingdom will be destroyed. And one of the processes that is included in that is the complete implosion of his financial system because they have an agenda. And that agenda is to introduce their New World Order, which is to cause all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hands or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Okay? And in order for them to introduce their New World Order, they have to do away with the current old world order setting. It is written that the rich men are going to howl. They're going to weep. And what's going to cause that? We understand that according to Revelation, the 18th chapter, they will ultimately weep because the Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, are going to destroy the kingdom of the Edomites through thermonuclear fire. And all the countries that perform traffic or trade with America via sea, they're going to be standing afar off looking at the destruction of her torment. They're going to be seeing the smoke of America ascending up into the atmosphere as they sit at sea. Okay? All these things are a part of biblical prophecy. Not to mention that during Jacob's trouble, they're going to be casting their gold and silver in the streets, including the people, the average citizen. Okay? So it's good to understand how finances work and what's moving this man's system, including how, these sorts of issues, when they arise, how their mechanics operate, how they work. Under Fitch's system, AAA is defined as the lowest expectation of default risk. But remember, this man's system is burdened by Ibadya, thick clay, heavy depths, heavy weights. And as it becomes heavier and heavier, the risk of default will only continue to increase. Okay? While AA plus signals expectations of a very low level of default risk. To put in public school grading terms, AAA is the valedictorian who took honors and AP and did all the extra credit. AA plus is just a run of the mill nerd with perfect grades. So let's move on back to the original article here in BBC, and we'll complement it with what's written here in the CNN app, because there's a lot of good information to go back and forth concerning this situation. Okay. It says, Fitch said it had noted a steady deterioration in governance over the last 20 years. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen called the downgrade arbitrary. Obviously, they don't agree with it. It was based on outdated data from the period 2018 to 2020, she said. Investors use credit ratings as a benchmark for judging how risky it is to lend money to a government. The U.S. is usually considered a highly secure investment because of the size and relative stability of the economy. However, this year saw another round of political one-upmanship over government borrowing. In June, the government succeeded in lifting the debt ceiling to 31.4 trillion. This is about 24.6 trillion pounds, but only after a draw-out political battle, which threatened to push the country into defaulting on its debt. When Congress returned from its summer recess, lawmakers will have to work to reach an agreement on next year's budget before the end of September to prevent a government shutdown. The rating downgrade of the United States reflects the expected physical deterioration over the next 3 years because the debt will only continue to mount. And this is why it is written here in Habakkuk, the second chapter, the 6th verse. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, meaning the heathen nations, and taunting proverb against him, and say, woe, which means destruction, to him that increaseth that which is not his, because America gained the most or the majority of what it currently has through extortion, through traffic, but primarily through extortion. Okay, going to other countries and stealing their wealth and resources. This is a consumer-based nation. Recall the documentary The Confession of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins. It says, that which is not his, how long? So how long is it going to continue to go on? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. So this man's system is laden with thick clay, thick depths, heavy burdens. Okay, that's why when this man's system defaults, the rich men are going to howl, according to James, the 5th chapter. Okay, and people are going to be casting their gold and silver in the streets, according to Ezekiel, the 5th chapter, or I believe the 7th chapter, when it says, they shall cast their gold and silver in the streets. Okay, it says, a high and growing general government debt burden and the erosion of governance relative to peers, said Fitch in a statement. In Fitch's view, there has been a steady deterioration in standards of governance over the last 20 years, including on physical and debt matters. Notwithstanding the June bipartisan agreement to suspend the debt limit until January the 25th, January 2025, the rating agency said. Ms. Yellen said she strongly disagreed with Fitch's decision. Treasury Secretaries remain the world's permanent, safe, and liquid asset, and the American economy is fundamentally strong, she said in a statement. The timing and rationale behind the downgrade has taken many economists by surprise. Former U.S. Treasury Secretary Larry Summers said Fitch's decision is bizarre and inept, particularly as the U.S. economy looks stronger than expected. But if the economy is stronger than expected, then how will inflation get a soft landing if a strong economy is still pushing it, fueling it? Okay, the Fed just increased rates again by 0.25%, and they'll keep doing so until inflation eventually comes down to their 2% goal. So the economy is currently right now in a stagflationary environment. It says, he said in a post on Twitter, now known as X. Mohammed El Iran, the chief economic advisor at financial services giant Allianz, said the Fitch announcement was a strange move. Well, insiders understand that this wasn't a strange move, but a coordinated one. This announcement is more likely to be dismissed because they have an agenda. Remember, they have an agenda that have a lasting disruptive impact on the U.S. economy and markets. He posted on the Threads social media platform. Fitch also said it expects the U.S. to slip into a mild recession later this year. However, a Nobel Peace Prize winner, economist Paul Krugman, said the biggest economic news over the past year has been America's remarkable success at getting inflation down without a recession. Alec Phillips, the chief U.S. political economist at Wall Street bank Goldman Sachs, said the downgrade mainly reflects governance and medium-term physical challenges. but does not reflect new physical information. The move should have little direct impact in financial markets, as it is unlikely there are major holders of Treasury securities, who would be forced to sell based on a rating change, he added. Other questioning the time of the Fitch announcement included Jason Furman, who was an economic advisor to former U.S. President Barack Obama. He called it completely absurd. So obviously there's disagreements, but insiders understand that it was like a coordinated endeavor, because a lot of things that they do, they're all coordinated, but they have to put on obviously this show that we for the people, we for the system. Is that in the fourth, but behind closed doors, they're all in league. They're all in cahoots. Okay, so pretty much the point has been read. I won't go to the CNN article, but I will leave it in the description box of the lesson because there's other good information in here that can be used to complement the BBC article. Okay, so let's get back to the scriptures and then conclude the lesson. This is the book of Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 6. It says, shall not all these take up parables against him? So these heathen nations, they're going to take a parable against Edom. Okay, that who rules America, Babylon the Great. And a taunting parable against him and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. Woe means destruction. Because this man increaseth that which is not his. He's taken the resources of other countries for himself in a very insatiable manner, because his desire is, his appetite is as hell. It cannot be satisfied. It is insatiable. How long? And to him that ladeth himself a thick clay. So not only does he increase if that which is not his, but he is also ladeth with thick clay, thick burdens, heavy burdens. And slowly over the process of time, we're seeing the result, the consequences, if you will, for those heavy burdens for the national debt. Okay, this is the book of Ezekiel, because eventually this system will crash. Ezekiel chapter 7. Verse 19, it says, they shall cast their silver in the streets, because there will come a time when the money that circulates around in this man's system will become obsolete. It will become of no use. So much so that people will eventually cast it throughout in the streets, and their gold shall be removed. Their silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of the Lord Yahweh, right? Bashim Yahushai. Especially during the time of Jacob's trouble and up to the return of our Lord Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, after the will of the Heavenly Father Yahweh. Okay, people's gold, their silver, their money will not be able to deliver them from the wrath of the Lamb, the wrath of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. They shall not satisfy their souls, because their money won't be able to satisfy their souls. What can satisfy our souls in the times to come? And what will? The scriptures. Isaiah chapter 33 verse 6 states that, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, the strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, is his treasure. Is whose treasure? An elect Israelite man's treasure. Because this knowledge is likened unto a treasure that is hidden in the field. The field is the world. Okay? Which when a man found, he go and sells all that he has to buy it, to redeem it. Sell means to trade. Buy means to redeem. Okay? This knowledge is likened to precious stones, pearls, rubies. In fact, it is likened to be greater than these things, out there in this life. It is greater than gold and silver. Anything that a man can possibly imagine to have in this life that is renowned, that is prestigious, pales in comparison to this knowledge. It falls extremely short, because this knowledge is true of true witches. And it will be the stability of the times of the elect of the nation of Israel. And I pray that I am of the elect, as well as you brothers and few sisters. It says they shall not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowels, men in their minds, because it is a stumbling block of their iniquity, or the iniquity is sin upon sin. So people's gold and silver, in which they trust in, which will not be able to deliver them in a time of trouble. It is their stumbling block. It will be their ruin. Gold had been the ruin of many, and the destruction was present. And that's in the book of Sirach. What is that, the 31st or 32nd chapter? In fact, let me just get that and close the lesson out with that. Well, then this is the book of Sirach, or also known as Ecclesiasticus, chapter 31, verse 5. He that loveth gold shall not be justified. Now, money, gold, these things are a defense. That's it. You have to use it to maneuver in this evil present world. Pay bills, get from point A to point B, get food, okay? But when a person becomes in love with it, therein lies the root of all evils, because the love of money is the root of all evil. He that loveth money shall not be justified, shall not be made right, and he that followeth corruption shall have enough thereof. So you want to follow after a goal which will not justify you, then just know that you're going to be following corruption, and you'll have more than enough of it, because it will ultimately lead a person to their death, to their destruction. Gold being the ruin of many, and the destruction was present. Okay, it is a stumbling block unto them. Did we not just read that in the book of Ezekiel chapter 7? It is a stumbling block unto them that sacrifice unto it, and every fool shall be taken therewith. So every fool that sacrifices unto gold that will corrupt them through their love of it, because the love of money is the root of all evil, shall be taken therewith, because every fool shall be taken therewith. So with that, I conclude this lesson. Abu Radazai has been edifying. This has been In the News, and Abu Radazai will come back with another shortly. Shalom.